On this edition of Desert Living, water. We take it for granted, yet it's something we can't live without. What are we doing to sustain our most precious resource?
Hi, I'm Eric Drew, and this is Desert Living.
On June 24th, along the banks of the Santa Cruz, Tucsonans enjoy El Dia de San Juan, the birthday feast in honor of St. John the Baptist, the patron saint of water. Spanish missionaries brought the celebration to the Southwest in the 1600s, and it was revived by West Side Tucson neighborhoods in 1998.
It's hot out here, but that's good news because it means rain is on its way. And that's what this event is all about. Dia de San Juan welcomes the beginning of the summer monsoon season. It recalls a time in which our very survival depended upon a significant annual rainfall.
Native people and early settlers were dependent on rain for the success of their crops. Then in 1881, Tucson began delivering groundwater. After years of pumping, the water level in the aquifer began to decline. Today, it is unable to meet our ever-growing demand.
Not long ago, the Santa Cruz River used to flow almost year-round. But now, except during heavy rains, the riverbed is almost always dry. So with a steady increase in population, the city has looked far beyond the Tucson Basin watershed to ensure access to a renewable, continuous supply of water.
In Avra Valley, west of the Tucson Mountains, 200 acres of retired farmland is roaring back to life. From the cab of an earth mover, it's easy to see the scope of the project. When the job is done, bone-dry land would become not a field of green, but a sea of blue. This water, destined for Tucson, has already come a long way. To get the details, we hooked up with Wally Wilson.
Good morning, sir.
Wilson is a lead hydrologist for Tucson Water. On a morning tour, he took us to a major source of Tucson's water supply, the CAP, Central Arizona Project Canal.
This canal delivers Colorado River water from the Colorado River all the way here to Tucson. About 300 plus miles of canal and pipeline and booster lift stations to bring the water here to Tucson.
When the water arrives, Tucson has two huge valves called turnouts that tap into it.
We're currently planning on 60,000 acre feet per year of water delivery through this inlet structure to our recharge facilities.
60,000 acre feet. That's enough to supply about 180,000 homes. It's a renewable supply of river water that, drop for drop, offsets Tucson's need to pump groundwater. Passing through the turnout, CAP water doesn't go directly to the customers. Instead, it travels here. This is the most visible part of Clearwater, a huge project that will help to ensure Tucson's water supply for years to come.
Right now, there's about 10,000 gallons a minute flowing through this pipeline and into the recharge basin.
Water fills the basin and then percolates down into the aquifer below, like filling an enormous storage tank underground. This new basin covers 20 acres. Once complete, Clearwater will have 20 basins with a combined surface area of nearly 500 acres.
In here right now, it's moving at about 11 feet per second. Every single basin has a structure exactly like this so that we can precisely control how much water we deliver to each basin.
As designed, Clearwater has the capacity to recharge Tucson's entire annual allotment of CAP water, about 144,000 acre feet. Currently, Tucson is using about 120,000 acre feet.
So we're recharging in excess of what our demands are currently. However, that water is being banked at the facility so that we can pump that in the future as demand increases, but it's also banked for resistance to shortages on the Colorado River or outages on the CAP canal.
Wilson says the Clearwater project gives Tucson the ability to conserve groundwater and helps guarantee a renewable water supply for years into the future.
How much water do you use? In Tucson, we average 99 gallons per person per day. That's more than enough to fill this 90-gallon blue barrel. Now imagine this, if Tucson Water delivered water in blue barrels, they would have to make more than 750,000 deliveries per day.
In a single-family home, nearly half the water used simply goes down the drain, through showers and sinks, toilets, washing machines, and dishwashers. The rest is used outdoors, on plants and trees. Water experts say that we need to take steps to reduce the amount we use. On Desert Living, we've highlighted people doing a variety of things to conserve water. Among them, water harvesting guru Brad Lancaster.
And here's a fun little trick. People wonder, well, how do you know how much water's in the tank?
Right.
Well, you just get the water flowing out of the hose, and then you lift it up.
Lancaster's work is a model for anyone interested in water conservation. People like Midtown resident Sonia Norman.
I was raised in an environment where we didn't waste, we didn't throw things away, we used what we had. And
Inspired by Lancaster and a desire for shaded streets, Norman asked a question.
And we thought, why not plant trees, capture the rainwater to be watering these trees?
The answer launched the Treat Avenue Trees project, where residents work together in concert with the city to plant 100 trees watered with harvested street runoff.
So I spent a lot of time studying the street, looking at where the water flows.
That dictated where to plant the trees and cut the curbs, all of which required a city permit.
There are protocol on how the curbs are to be cut, how low they are to be, how low the basins are to be, how wide the opening is to be, how much of the right-of-way you need to leave for pedestrian use. We deliberately used very large rocks, especially next to the curb where when the water comes in, it's going to be coming in with a lot of force. We don't want to lose our embankment here.
Trees for the project included drought-tolerant Palo Verde and mesquite.
This particular one, you don't see too much around the city. It's a little bit frost sensitive. It is a ironwood. It will have purple flowers. It's a slow grower.
Norman's approach to water conservation is low-tech.
This is my front yard. It's desert landscaped. We do very little auxiliary watering here. And one thing that we did is this walkway that I'm standing on, this is all elevated, not much, but it's elevated a bit. And so sheds water to trees on either side.
Before doing anything, Norman says it's important to simply observe where the water is going.
We had a rain tank that we were going to install on that side of the roof. Then we realized that the water is flowing off the roof and it's watering these trees, half of which were volunteers. And we realized they were doing pretty well, and we said, well, let's just let the water water these trees because they're in a good place. They provide shade for the front porch, and what more could someone want?
How about a little help from your friends?
This is my neighbor Stead. Stead's roof ends up watering the big trees in my backyard. Stead helps us in lots of ways.
I do what I can.
Yeah. And then we swim in your pool, and so we don't
Yes.
have to use the water and keep our water bill low. We just swim in your pool.
Excellent.
Stead's a great neighbor.
Time to go to work.
One section of Norman's roof drains into a cistern. And in the backyard,
Let's look at this rain gutter right here. Now, we're capturing the water just off of this porch. And all of this water that is collected in this gutter comes out this spout, and this spout then shunts the water toward this tree. And anywhere in this general direction is fine because the root zone it's out here. This is my house, and we harvest our gray water, some of it, and I'm going to show you where we're harvesting it from. We harvest it from the wash machine. We have a wash machine in this closet. We also harvest it from the bathroom.
gray water from the washing machine, the bathroom sink, and the bathtub is channeled outdoors.
Water that comes down this sink, as well as water that's coming down this drain in the bathtub all collects in the same drain underneath the bathtub.
Then it's piped into the backyard.
And when we want water to come into this well, we take off this cap.
Norman takes her conservation efforts seriously.
And also, it's kind of a game, it's a challenge. I suppose it's like my children building their forts out in the yard. This is my adult game. It's my fun thing to be tinkering with and figuring out.
For example, by moving soil, Norman was able to lower parts of her backyard and thereby direct rainwater to her trees.
So I remember my mother wanting to plant a willow tree and planting two when they died. These were weeping willows, they weren't desert willows. And my daughter's pointing out that they also build forts inside. They don't just build them outside.
Norman is beginning to see a domino effect. As other people see examples of what's possible, they become interested in doing it themselves.
Just seems like the right thing to do, and I have fun doing it.
One of the city's largest water consumers is golf. It takes a lot of the wet stuff to keep these greens green.
In Tucson, golf is big, and its score is really big with the economy. But golf in the desert, it may seem incompatible until you discover where the water here comes from. Let's go another round with Wally Wilson.
On the east side of the Tucson Mountains, above an aquifer and next to the Santa Cruz River, Wilson shows us Tucson's other renewable water supply.
We're now at the Sweetwater Wetlands.
The wetlands is a multi-purpose facility. On the surface, it's an urban wildlife habitat, a tranquil park that attracts birders from all over the world. But it's also an important piece of the city's reclaimed effluent treatment system.
These wetlands are actually treating what is called the backflow from our filter plant. So we run that through the wetlands here to get additional treatment before we send it into the recharge basins to be recharged and later recovered for distribution in the reclaim system.
Behind the scenes, Wilson shows us where the water from the Sweetwater wetlands is stored.
What you're seeing now is one of the recharge basins filling. It's starting to fill. We're flowing secondary effluent. This is the outlet structure where all the water enters the basin. We'll fill these basins up to about 2 to 3 feet and leave them there for 2 days, and then we'll turn them off and they dry out.
Held in the basin, the secondary effluent percolates into the aquifer, and then, as needed, it's pumped back out and used for turf irrigation.
With the wetlands and the recharge facility and our filtration plant, we deliver up to 13,000 acre feet of reclaimed water to be put onto golf courses, schools, and parks.
Right now, reclaimed water is used on 47 parks, 18 golf courses, 61 schools, and the University of Arizona.
Wastewater effluent is the only water resource that grows with population. The more people there are, the more wastewater that's generated. So wastewater and effluent, treated effluent in the future is going to be a very important component of overall water resource portfolio to the community.
Loving and gracious God, shower your summer rains upon us. We thank you for the gift and blessing of rain. Gracias a usted por la lluvia, por la vida, por nuestra fe.
As we listen to the simple appeal for life-sustaining rain, we know that water and our access to it is a very complex issue. This is why we must continue our search for sustainable solutions that guarantee a steady supply of water for generations to come. I hope you've enjoyed the show. For more information on the story seen here, check out Tucson12.tv. For Desert Living, I'm Eric Drew. Thank you for joining us.